Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are counting down a list of the top 10 movies that Hollywood doesn't want you to see. From banned films to controversial movies, lawsuits waiting to happen, or just plain out embarrassment, these are the films that Hollywood has tried to sweep under the rug and keep you from being able to watch. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so 10 movies that Hollywood doesn't want you to see, and in some cases, they have worked really hard to prevent you from watching these films. They've censored them, they've banned them, they've pulled them. They do not want you to see these films, but honestly, in most cases, these films are pretty entertaining and some of them are downright classics. So let's get right to the list with 2014's The Interview. Now, this one stars James Franco and Seth Rogen, and it nearly triggered World War III. It definitely triggered North Korea, as James Franco plays a tabloid TV host and his producer, played by Seth Rogen. They both kind of score an interview with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, only to be recruited by the CIA to sort of take him out. It's a goofy comedy, kind of over-the-top slapstick that escalates into full-blown political satire, and that's part of why Hollywood wanted to bury it, because North Korea threatened real-world attacks based on this movie. Sony got attacked because of this movie. They were hacked all over the place, cost them a lot of trouble. Theaters panicked, and this movie got pulled, yanked from theaters, only to be released later on very quietly and basically treated like radioactive waste. A little trivia, this movie is also infamous because it became the first major film to be pulled due to global political threats. I mean, this is a comedy that almost started a war. For that reason, Hollywood has done their best to kind of pretend this one doesn't exist. But The Interview from 2014 checks in at number 10 on this list. All right, at number 9 on this list is another one that, man, this one has been banned in many countries. It's been censored. It's been torn apart, put back together, subject of lawsuits, all kinds of drama around 1979's Caligula. So the plot in this one, it follows the Roman Emperor Caligula and his rise to power and his descent into debauchery, which I'm a former history teacher. All those things definitely happened. But he also was very cruel. Corruption ran rampant. And this movie tracks all that, and that's fine. It starts out as a period drama, and it spirals into mass orgies, graphic violence, nudity, and shock value. And that's part of why Hollywood buried it, despite having a legendary cast of people like Helen Mirren in this film. Man, this one is one that started out as this epic and sort of just kind of went down into softcore and then eventually pretty much into full-blown adult film. Here you had the producer Bob Guccione of Penthouse. He supposedly secretly added some triple X rated scenes in this, and the actors claimed at the time to be horrified and file lawsuits. Malcolm McDowell said he was tricked into this film and all this stuff. But later, Helen Mirren said, look, they were there for the orgy scenes. They all kind of saw everything that was going on to the point that they were pretty, riled up by the end of the night and couldn't go to sleep because they were all somewhat unsatisfied. She called it a glorious mess. It is Hollywood's accidental adult film epic. It stars Oscar winners and nominees and hardcore footage. It is all over the place. It recently got all new full cuts from Umbrella out of Australia. You've got a whole new cut of the film that's several hours long with footage that was never shown in the original versions of the film. This one is famous and infamous. Caligula from 1979 checks in at number 9 on this list. Now, number 8 on this list is a full-blown Oscar-winning and Oscar-nominated classic that is beloved but also banished to Disney's dustbin of history. We're talking 1946's Song of the South. Now, I love this movie. I'm a Disney historian. I'm a Disney fan. But this one is set in the Reconstruction era of the Old South, and it tells the story of Uncle Remus sharing folk tales about Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and all those kind of things. It spawned a absolutely legendary ride at Disneyland and Disney World and Disney parks across the world, Splash Mountain. But it's with white children on a plantation and animated sequences, and that's part of the reason why Disney up and decided to bury it, because as later sensibilities changed, people retroactively put those sensibilities on it, and they said, hey, the racial stereotypes, while nothing racial is necessarily going on in this film, you're portraying these things as good and that Uncle Remus is happy and all this, and they didn't like the nostalgic vibe to that and said that it was offensive and all those kind of things. So Disney basically shelved it permanently, despite the winning an Oscar for the song Zippity-Doo-Dah, Zippity-Yay that we all know, because it was also part of Disney's branding and their commercials for so long. But forget it. You can't catch this one on Disney Plus. You can't get it on physical media hardly. You got to get it from overseas. This one has been banished despite being an Oscar caliber film, and that is just too bad. Hollywood's going out of their way to stop you from seeing it. Song of the South from 1946 checks in at number 8 on this list. All right, as the rain pours outside my house and the thunder booms, we're going to go back to 1985 for Terry Gilliam's classic weird movie, Brazil. Now, this one is a dystopian satire where a low-level bureaucrat, played by Jonathan Pryce, of Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is a great film, he becomes trapped in a nightmare of paperwork, censorship that we were just talking about, and mistaken identity after trying to correct a clerical error. So if you think Orwell meets Monty Python, maybe if you put those two together, you'd be on the right track to explaining just what in the hell Brazil is. But why did Hollywood want to bury this? Why do they keep you from trying to see it? Despite the fact now that it's found a nice home in the Criterion Collection, so it's out there to be had. Well, Universal hated Gilliam's bleak ending, and they tried to recut it with a happy one, and the director fought back, and eventually he snuck his version to critics, so they kind of had no recourse other than just sort of take it at that point. The battle over the endings almost killed this one a classic before it ever started. This movie they basically just considered too weird for Hollywood, and there's weird plastic surgery commentary that's relevant today. It's absolutely crazy. Critics thought it was Best Picture of the Year, so he was right in the end. It is twisted, mangled, crazy, just visual feast that's absolutely nuts. I'm not the biggest fan personally, but I don't believe in censoring anything or trying to ban anything or change anything to suit what you think might be sensible for people. Brazil from 1985, it is a wild ride. If you want to take it, it checks in at number 7. Now, at number 6, we have the awesome 80s teen comedy that they won't mention, and that is 1985's Just One of the Guys. Now, I personally love this movie that's about a teen girl who's frustrated about not being taken seriously, so she decides to disguise herself as a boy so she can succeed in journalism. She wants to be a reporter, she wants to be a journalist, and so you got to cue the sort of double life, double entendres, and the locker room awkward, crazy misunderstandings, an awkward romance, all kinds of stuff that gets a little weird, gets a little awkward in this movie. And that's part of the reason why Hollywood tried to bury this movie. It's a fun teen comedy at the time. People were far less uptight. People were far less offended by everything. But again, you have today's sensibilities. Not everybody's sensibilities. Sensibilities change all the time, but you have sensibilities of certain people today. They try to project that back on something that's 40 years old, and they go back and say it's problematic, it's clunky, it's not just a fun teen comedy, it's Hollywood promoting something that isn't the right image of gender politics or whatever. Because there's a very famous reveal scene in here where, let's just say she reveals she's not just one of the guys. The topless reveal basically shocked audiences then, but they laughed it off, and it was something that was needed for the film. It's still needed for the film, but that kind of turned it into part comedy, part exploitation, and that just doesn't fit with political correctness and things like that of today's sensibility. So for that, they try to kind of wipe it away, nudge it off. We can't get a physical media release of this. It's harder to find on good quality and streaming, all those kind of things. But if you can find it, Just One of the Guys is an extreme high recommend. It is a fun ride that will have you kind of watching like this part of the time because you just feel awkward for everyone involved. But that is part of the slice of life that the movie is trying to represent and get across. And it does pretty well in the end. It comes in at number 6 on this list. At number 5 on this list, yes, Hollywood made this. It's their blackface comedy. And it stars James Earl Jones and C. Thomas Howell. We're talking 1986's Soul Man. And this is another one that I gotta say, if you stop looking at through a lens of being offended and everything else, this is very enjoyable, and it has a very good message to the film because the plot is a rich white kid played by C. Thomas Howell. He has to pose as a black man by literally tanning his skin. He takes tanning pills, like excessive amounts of tanning pills, and wears like an Afro-style wig to get a minority scholarship to Harvard. Yes, that's the actual plot. And again, James Earl Jones is a star of this film, and he supported this film all the way till he passed away. But that's why Hollywood buried it, because it's widely condemned as racist, despite the point that it tries to make in the film, that C. Thomas Howell, he can never really understand what it's like to be a person of color because he could always change if he didn't like it. There's a big conversation with him and James Earl Jones, professor character in the film. And James Earl Jones defended this film because he thought those were great things that it was getting at. But this is a case of sensibilities today, and being offended can't take that in order to get to the good message. You know, that would cause people to remember that good message much more than how they got there. But they throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. And the satire is totally lost for all the wrong reasons on this one. You could argue that it shouldn't have been made, whatever you want to, but you can never argue that things should be banned and censored, and that someone up above, a power that be, should ever be able to dictate to you what you should and shouldn't be able to watch. Soul Man has a great message to it if you'll let it get there. It comes in at number 5 on this list. Now, at number 4 on this list is the Stephen King film that they buried. It's got Nazis, it's got secrets, it's got lawsuits, and they've tried to get you to forget it forever because of all of those reasons. We are talking about Apt Pupil. Now, this one stars a high schooler played by Brad Renfro, who discovers that his elderly neighbor, played by Sir Ian McKellen, is actually a former Nazi officer who is wanted for war crimes during World War II. And instead of turning him in, he blackmails him. And it leads into a twisted psychological power game that takes dark turns by the end. It's a Stephen King story, right? And that's why Hollywood buried it, at least partly, is because of the dark subject matter, which is crazy. Like, you know, these are real things that happened. But the film gained infamy even more because extras in the film sued the production over let's just say, a disturbing shower scene that featured people that probably should not have been in there. So the lawsuits were quietly settled and the film faded from circulation. Stephen King himself wanted the book pulled out of circulation, pulled out of publishing, all those kind of things, which I don't agree with either. I mean, this is a dark part of history that happened. It's brought to light here. If you can't take it, that's why we went to war in World War II. But Apt Pupil is one I don't hear people talk about a lot, but it is a very chilling, terrifying, and intriguing film. It comes in at number 4 on this list. Now, number 3 on this list turns it way lighter. This movie is very light, at least for some, because others find a way to get very offended by it. I am talking 2007's I Now Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry. So this one stars Adam Sandler and Kevin James as two straight firefighters who pretend to be a gay couple so one can get insurance benefits. And this leads to all kinds of stereotypes, homophobic gags and, that type of humor. Even though Sandler and the production crew worked with GLAAD on this thing, it still got lambasted later as sensibilities got way far overly politically correct that this film just couldn't take it anymore. That's why Hollywood buried it, despite it being a very big hit in 2007 when it came out. Some people say it aged like milk. I don't agree. I still think it's fun. If you're not offended by everything, there's a lot of fun to be had and a lot of experiences to be had out there. But Sandler, he doesn't even bring it up today because he just doesn't want to be attacked over the film, and he's a non-confrontational type of guy. I think it's fun. I think it's one that, again, it tries to give you good messages in here wrapped in a memorable comedy so they get through to people that otherwise wouldn't listen. But see, you can't even get the good message again because Hollywood's trying to keep you from seeing it, trying to poo-poo it, trying to ban it, trying to censor it. But get Chuck and Larry and enjoy it and laugh. It comes in at number 3. Now, number 2 is one of my favorite raunchy comedies of all time. It's absolutely iconic, and you can't really hardly get it today on any type of physical media. They censor it on streaming. I'm talking 1984's Revenge of the Nerds. Now, this has an old DVD. It has an out-of-print Blu-ray. It has censored versions online, all that kind of stuff. But it is an absolute classic of raunchy teen college exploitation comedies from the 1980s. It is about geeks who form a fraternity to fight back against the jocks and the cheerleaders. It's sort of a classic underdog story full of wacky pranks, hijinks, over-the-top situations. And part of that's why Hollywood buried it, because it contains a seduction scene that is played for laughs, but people find problematic today, and what was once considered comedy because people weren't so over the top, uptight about everything and realized it was fake and just a movie and nothing actually happened on screen. Well, today that gets it canceled and labeled problematic and all that. So much so that they planned a remake of this, and because of that, from the 1980s, a 2009, I believe, or it was either 2009 or 2016 remake attempt got grenaded because of that, because of the sensibilities of today. Execs say that it didn't age well, so they just kind of try to sweep this one under the rug. It's an 80s classic that Hollywood powers that be consider a nightmare now. I do not agree. Revenge of the Nerds is one of my favorite all-time comedies, and it comes in at number 2 on this list. Now, number 1 on this list is one of my all-time favorite movies. We're going all the way back to 1939, and you might be thinking, what in the world from 1939 can be so bad that they are trying to ban it and keep you from seeing it? Well, how about the highest grossing film of all time, Gone with the Wind? Now, this is a sweeping Civil War romance epic between Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler, among others. Scarlett got around. And it is Hollywood's most iconic old school epic film, dripping with melodrama, war, and doomed love, and all that combines to be why Hollywood buried it. It might be the number one movie, but as changing sensibilities of the past 5 or 10 years came in, you could say it's the number one controversy too. They want to call it Hollywood's most problematic classic. I hate the word problematic because especially when you're talking about art and films are art, they say that it romanticizes the Confederacy and stereotypes black characters, some of whom were nominated for Oscars for this film, and you want to delete all of that. And they say it glosses over slavery. Well, it's not a documentary. It's not about that. It's about a romance. All of that other is just the background of Margaret Mitchell's story in this. So much so, though, it caused so much of an uproar that in 2020, HBO Max actually pulled it. And it was pulled out of the stores on physical media and then re-released later in some censored versions in streaming and with a warning label and a context label on the films and on the streaming, which is absolutely absurd for a film that is nearly 100 years old and adjusted for inflation still the number one highest grossing movie in the history of the world. It's an absolute classic. You can't let them ban it. Don't let them take it from you or any other movie that you love. Gone with the Wind is one that I love. And frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn who does it, because it is number one on this list. And that is what I've got for you. 10 films that Hollywood doesn't want you to see. They've censored them. They've banned them. They've pulled them from shelves and streaming. They've swept them under the rug, but they are still out there to be found, enjoyed, and understood the way they were meant to be. That's what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please like and subscribe. We do all kinds of lists and movie recommendations here. We do all kinds of 4K reviews and other uncensored lists and recommendations on my Patreon. There is a link for that in the description. There is a discount code right now, new25, for 25% off of your membership. And you're going to get your name in lights on every single video, all those special videos that I talked about, and so much more. And it all goes back into the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.